very quickly put up my video cam just so I can wave at you all, and then I'm going to turn it off again to save bandwidth. And Esther's left. There we go. So hi, and turn it off. If you haven't done it already, could you pick up on what Cass said, and that is turn your microphones off for the moment, and then we'll turn them on when we get questions at the end in order to stop feedback. Just picking up any comments there. So, the new award, the CRA Professional Development Award in Supporting Student Employability and Enterprise. So I'm Steve, and you've introduced yourselves by logging on, and we'll pick up a little bit more about you later on. Can everybody see my screen all right?
Yep.
Thank you. Here we go then. So, where does it come from? Three important things. The first is the recognition of need in the sector. Some of us, and Rob's joined us, and he more than I, have been working around employability and enterprise for a very long time. We can remember the old ESECT scheme that ran for a while. But since then, it has grown in importance, not least of which, I don't know whether this is cynical or not, but it is now an integral part of TEF. So people having their employability data sent back to them as part of any TEF submissions. But more than that, I think employability has been recognised across the sector as being now a very necessary part of the student learning experience. Second reason is that we've been running now a very successful professional development award in personal tutoring and academic advising. And I know that some of you who've joined this award have done that award as well, especially from Sheffield Hallam. So welcome back for those people, and welcome to new people. And the structure of this award is identical to the structure of the Professional Development Award in Personal Tutoring, which I'll talk about in a moment. So, what it's all about? Well, it's individual candidates who will get mentor support from the CRA team, including individual support. So each program member will be allocated a named tutor. I think that's already happened. And we will work with you on your submission. We will give feedback on drafts and feedback on the final draft prior to submission. There will be facilitated peer collaboration within and across institutions. So we will organise some catch-up webinars and where possible, if it's possible, also face-to-face visits somewhere if we can do that. Because there are so many people from Sheffield Hallam doing the award, for example, I've agreed to go over to Sheffield halfway through the programme to catch up, and I'm sure other people will be welcome to join us. We will give advice on recovering work so that where we think something is not yet there, we will help candidates recover and make sure that it gets through to the threshold so that all of the requirements of the award are met. There is a members only, program members only website with resources to support your submissions. We put some more resources in there yesterday. I'm hoping to get as well Andy Panaluna, who was one of the authors of the recent QAA report on enterprise education, to do a webinar for us. And also to give you support, the portfolio that we're looking for you to complete has got a very clear structure to it. It is scaffolded in a very clear way, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So there are a number of tasks for you to complete. tasks through 1 to 6, and then a final task. And let's talk about those for a moment. So task 1 is to reflect on the nature and limits of employability and enterprise provision in your context, in your institution, in the work that you're doing. And in particular, we would invite you at that point, when you talk about what it is that you do, which is essentially what this task is all about, we'd invite you also to compare what you do with what might happen in other institutions. Task 3 to 6 is all about doing something. So task 1 and 2 is talking about yourself, having a review about where you are, and planning to do something. Task 2 is planning. And then task 3 to 6 is actually doing it. Could be working with students, it could be working with staff, it could be both. Whatever it is that you do, plan to do something differently, plan to try and do some improvement, and then review how it went. That's the it of it. So it's a review, plan, do, review model. And the tasks are structured in that way. Along the way, we would urge you to be scholarly. We would look to people using a literature on teaching and learning and employability and enterprise to inform their discussions. And most of all, we would look to some kind of reflections. Here we have then some further details around the tasks. Task 2, identify your own professional development goals, priorities, plan for those priorities, and plan for your own CPD, undertake the activities, and then review how you got on. The indicative framework is this, and I stress indicative. The only non-negotiable deadline is the final hand-in one. These are our suggested nominal dates to get the work done. But as I say, these are suggestions, they do not have to be met, but your mentors will be having a chat with you to see how you're getting on. You do not have to share what you do with the rest of your institution if you don't want to, just with us. So we would look to the first 2 assessment tasks being completed by June 1st, the do task completed by 28th of September, the 3 to 6 activities. 26th of October, work with your mentor to go through are all the bits done, so that you can have a final review with your mentor around November the 9th, with a final submission date of 23rd of November, and we will guarantee to have your results by, and he says 30th of June, it's not 30th of June, it's the 2nd week of December. That's just a treat to catch me out. The role of the mentors, that's us. We will support you. We'll engage with you on the assessment tasks. We will remind you and progress chase. We will provide online support and provide feedback, and your mentor will be in touch with you to sort that out. Any questions? Any questions? You can put your microphones on now and have a chat.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hi, it's Anna here. So when you talk about comparing with practices in different universities, how are we going to do that?
If you do a web search, and we'll point you to some interesting institutional stuff. Then it's are you doing something which is different from other people, or are you doing something which is the same as other people? We know from the Personal Tutoring Award that different institutions have got different takes on personal tutoring. We know that institutions have got different takes on employability and enterprise, and we would love you to compare what you do with what somebody else does, and have a chat about that.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll put some URLs into the resource area so that
That's lovely.
you've got some to go at. Charlotte, yes, we started to put an appropriate literature into the resource bank, and you should be getting a password to get into it. In fact, I think Kath has sent that out already. And of course, if you come across the literature which isn't there, we would love you to put it in as well. So send a note to Kath and say, can you please put this into the resource bank? So it really is a shared community of practice. Any more questions, ideas, comments, anxieties?
Timing.
Oh, hi, Steve. I have a Catherine. I'm Catherine. I've got a question.
Hi, Catherine.
Hiya. So I think I mentioned this to you at the seminar last week, but if we plan to actually do the thing we want to do and it involves students, I've got concerns about timing, because our students are just disappearing now, and you know, they won't be back before the 28th of September. So can we sort of, how do we go about that? Can we do a sort of hypothetical doing, or do we actually have to? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So there's three things, or at least 3 things I can think of to address that, because we did think about that when we launched. Number one is talk about what you've done to get ready. So even if you haven't got any results back from students doing things, you can talk about what it is that you plan to do and expect it to happen.
Right. Okay. That's useful. Thanks.
The second thing is we could always negotiate the final deadline if it becomes a real problem.
Okay.
So if you want to, say to your mentor, look, of my 3 to 6 activities number 5 and 6, I really cannot do anything until the students have done something, then we can talk about that. And also remember that it's a suggested deadline. The real deadline is December.
Right. Okay. That's good.
So I stress that the real deadline is November. It's November the 23rd, isn't it? The real deadline is November, not September. So it's a notional, it's a nominal date in order to pace your work. But we recognise that for some people they might be putting a lot more into it at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Brief outline of the learning outcomes, please. What are you hoping we will achieve from this course? Let's go back. Specialist outcomes. So we would hope that by the time you finish the program, you will have reflected on the nature and limits of employable enterprise in your context, that you would have supported individual student and or staff, that you will have introduced appropriate activities and so on, and that you will have analysed and applied relevant research. So the overall outcome, the specialist outcome, is that you will be better at doing your job as a result of doing the program. And it's as simple as that. So it is a proactive program. Unlike other things like UKPSF, this is proactive. We want you to think of doing something, taking a deliberate step to make your employability enterprise work better, planning that step, and then reviewing whether or not it worked. And then there's general outcomes, including planning for your own professional development. And indeed, at the end of your narrative, we would look to you saying a little bit about where you go next as a result of doing the program. What's your next step? So having taken a deliberate step to make something better, what would your next step be? Does that answer your question? Yes, these are the ones you'll be assessed on. Thank you, Charlotte. And of course, you can discuss in more detail with your mentor exactly what you're going to be doing. One of the things we've learned from the personal tutoring program is that we were pleasantly surprised with the diversity of things people were doing and the diversity of things they talked about and planned to do. And we would welcome a diversity of different approaches to employability and enterprise in this program as well. We were quite impressed with just what different things people were doing and what they planned to do. So be as imaginative as you like. We look forward to people being creative in trying to do things better. Anything else? What I'll do is I'll put the assessment criteria into the resources site to accompany. You should all have got the handbook as well, which is also in the resources side, and the handbook goes into more detail than I have today. So do look at it carefully. For example, one of the questions that comes up, is there a maximum word limit? Yes, there is. It's 8,000 words. No, Charlotte. We think that enterprise and employability is a little bit different from personal tutoring. So yes, if it's working with students, that's great. But also there may be some of you who actually don't see students at all because you're working with other colleagues, in which case it's okay to take your examples from other colleagues. What I've said in the handbook is either working directly with students or working with colleagues who do work directly with students. Anything else? Kath and Rob, have I missed anything?
No, Steve, I can't think of anything.
No, that's helpful, I'm sure, to colleagues, and we look forward to working with mentees as we get going. And of course, if there are issues, people can come back to it.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Kath.
Steve?
In which, yes.
Oh, sorry, it's Angela here. Just on that point, are we to expect a message from our mentors, or should we establish contact going forward? Just protocol, really.
Yes, we will be happy either way. I mean, I know that John, for example, is really busy today and this week, so he may not have had time to get in touch with you. You'll have had an email from Kath introducing it. So by all means, make contact with your mentor and say, hello, this is me, and we're ready to get started.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Anything else? In which case, can I say, as Esther has done, and good luck to everybody. As Rob said, really looking forward to working with you on this and getting going. And let's all stop for lunch. Kathy's going to forward the recording, And have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you very much. Ta-da for now, and be in touch. Ta-da.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.